Por lo general siempre el imperialismo cuenta con todos los medios, aliado con las oligarquías de cada uno de los países, para impedir el triunfo democrático de la revolución. Y tiene atado a los pueblos por una especie de nudo gordiano, que solo se puede quebrar mediante la lucha armada.
That was Fidel Castro. In 1959, Fidel and his brother with their 26th of July movement army managed to overthrow dictator Fulgencio Batista, forming a communist dictatorship, ironically, some 90 miles off the coast of the United States, bringing the enemy right to America's doorstep. Communism is still the country's ideology today, and at one point, this choice of ideology for Cuba by Fidel Castro brought the world to the brink of war in the Cuban Missile Crisis. From 1945 to 1991, a Cold War between communism and freedom showed just how much human ideas can impact the world, or almost destroy it. Revolutions are always on the rise, and it is clear that the capitalist democracy of the West isn't here to stay. Whether it be in 20 years or 200, someone once again will pick up the pen and begin to write of another way for people to live. With that said, what will the next ideologies be?
First, America first.
The thought of an elected dictator seems strange in the modern day, but to look for a shift towards this ideology, you don't have to look further than Russia's Vladimir Putin and Turkey's President Erdogan. Today is the 16th of April, and a game-changing referendum has been held in Turkey to give President Erdogan presidential powers resembling a one-person rule. To understand how the country had gotten to this crucial decision, you have to assess the country's parties and how they voted on the referendum in Parliament. President Erdogan's AKP Justice and Development Party is contested by two parties that combined aren't even close to the number of MPs that Erdogan's party has in Parliament. With the new constitutional amendments, the President is now able to directly appoint top public officials, including ministers. He is able to assign one or several vice presidents. The job of his Prime Minister, currently held by Binali Yildirim, is now to be scrapped. The amendment changes also allow him to intervene in the judiciary, and he can now decide whether or not to impose a state of emergency over the country. The new system, he argues, will resemble those in France and the US and will bring calm in a time of turmoil marked by the Kurdish insurgency, Islamist militancy, and conflict in neighbouring Syria, which has led to a huge refugee influx. In this statement, Erdogan uses internal and external threats to his country as his advantages: the Syrian civil war, failed military coup, and Kurdish insurgents in Turkey give Erdogan a great amount of public support whilst bolstering the nationalist movement. The amendments share some similarities with the powerful French and US presidents, but even Donald Trump is far from as authoritarian as Erdogan. Erdogan has ruled for 14 years and may now rule until 2029. Many claim that the country has committed democratic suicide and is one step closer to an elective dictatorship. Vladimir Putin is probably one of the most interesting characters of the modern day, and has gone from being a spy in the KGB during the Cold War to ruling with his government over Russia for 18 years. Putin owns one of the largest cyber spy networks in the world and the world's largest nuclear arsenal. These are the tools that Putin uses in an attempt to destabilize the West and make Russia once again a global superpower. He has used the Russian constitution to his advantage by appointing Dmitry Medvedev as his choice of president from 2008 to 2012 during the invasion of Georgia, which sparked the world's condemnation, as Putin remains prime minister until being re-elected in 2012 by a landslide vote. And by 2020, after the restricted 2 terms per election, Putin may once again appoint another president in an attempt to carry on his rule. Many Russian opposition leaders have died or fallen ill during Putin's time in office as he continues to gain unwavering amounts of support after annexing the Crimea in 2014, while supporting pro-Russian activists and launching an invasion of Ukraine which has killed over 9,000 people so far. Putin's efforts to destabilize the West have so far been successful, and his support for Syria's dictator Bashar al-Assad throughout the entire Syrian civil war shows just how authoritarian Vladimir Putin is in his efforts to bring Russia into the world stage. The majority of the country's media outlets are state-owned, like in Turkey, and compared to Erdogan's AKP party, Putin's party holds 76% of the seats in the Russian parliament. In both these examples, Erdogan and Putin have used their enemies to gain public support and have used conflicts such as the Ukraine crisis and Kurdish insurgency to increase the strength of both countries' nationalist movements. In 2016, Putin's favourability ratings reached 87% and Erdogan's soared to 67% after the failed Turkey coup. This new form of dictatorship has been achieved through controlling the media, raising more hatred towards the enemies of the state and creating a stronger sense of nationalism amongst the public. These 3 driving forces are steadily integrating themselves into the US and European countries facing a large influx of refugees from the Middle East. It's unclear if any other major countries will take these steps towards an elected dictatorship, but the driving forces behind the change in ideology